Hey, everybody, welcome to Fantasy and Reality, a podcast where we talk about all things creative and bring together our minds to look at things maybe from a different perspective. I am Shannon Malone, de-Benedictis. I am a documentary filmmaker, workshop facilitator, and body image consultant and coach. And I am here with my delightful co host and dear friend for ages, Elara. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm delightful, apparently. I'm Elara Dunn, and I am a fantasy author for YA and an illustrator.
So Alara and I are artists who've gone back for decades. And so we come together to talk about different topics, how it informs our work and how it informs our lives. And to hopefully bring some joy, like a really delightful little bit of tea or a smoothie or, I don't know, these new chocolate Oreos that I've tried. So today we're going to talk about books and films that elevate our own personal worth. Things that make us feel good, things that make us or maybe feel bad, or something that kind of helps inform us. So, Alara, let's talk about some things you helps you, things that
I'm,
elevate you, things that
I'm
inspire you.
ready to go.
Let's do
Okay,
it.
so this is probably going to sound weird, but as soon as I read the topic, exactly one film jumped straight into my mind,
Hmm.
and that is The First Wives Club.
Oh, interesting.
It is
Why is that?
interesting because I've not been divorced. Have you
Hmm.
seen it?
I saw it ages ago. I
Ages
mean,
ago.
ages ago. Yeah.
To me, for anybody listening that doesn't know, it was Diane Keaton, Bette Midler, and was it Goldie Hawn?
Goldie Hawn. Yeah.
Were all divorced and
Hmm.
sort of reeling after their divorces, and it was the first movie I ever saw that I remember that really had women portrayed in a different light, especially those going through a divorce. The whole movie was about them finding their self worth. It was about, I'm okay without a man, whereas movies previous to that, you find your
Yeah.
love at the end, and that's all a woman needs. And just to see these sort of, speaking of positive body portrayal, these three radically different looking women, and Bette Midler, essentially them talking about her weight. The new girlfriend was Sarah Jessica Parker, who was of course very thin, so that
Very
that
fun.
was, and they dealt with that issue. They didn't make
Hmm.
fun, they didn't do fat jokes, they didn't, well, if you were, and she's the one that gets back together with her husband, and it's just, to me, it's like, you don't have to be thin to be loved. You don't have
Hmm.
to wear the right makeup. You don't have to wear the right clothes. And a man is not tied to your self-worth. And to me, it was so refreshing to see
Hmm.
that film. Yeah, the whole film was really
I
just women finding their self-worth.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Maybe now it reminds me a little bit of it reminds me a little I should see it again now that I'm at that age. I'm not divorced either,
Right.
but I'm at that age and it reminds me of the perspective of, one of my all-time favorite movies is A Room with a View. And when I was young, it was Lucy. But now that I'm older, I understand Charlotte so much more. So I should go back and rewatch First Wives Club now that I'm
Yeah.
in that demographic, in that space. I think for me, what elevates my personal worth, and you and I have talked about this, is I think one of the best movies made in the past 20 years is Encanto. Is is and and yeah, of course, the documentary filmmaker goes immediately to the cartoon. Um, but the reason Encanto just just hits me is because it reminds me that my worth is more than maybe my daily actions or what the expectations are, and that my worth is loving and caring and being there for my family and my friends and my community. And so it really, really just strikes me. And it's one of those films that I watch pretty regularly just to get me that boost, to give me that kind of feeling. And I mean, we can get into the fact that it's an incredible film about the emotional trauma and PTSD of forced migration, forced resettlement, as well as generational trauma. And only Lin-Manuel Miranda could probably put that together and still under the guise of an incredibly enjoyable Disney film.
Right.
But that that really it really kind of hits home for me about what my personal worth and what my that we're not just this unique skill, that we're much more. We're much more than maybe just the talent that we have.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because like the two things I'd love to say about that movie is the whole movie, through all its themes, it says you can make mistakes and people will still love you.
Hmm.
People who really love you, you're going to make mistakes. That's human, and it's going to be okay for those who really love you and you
Hmm.
really connect with. So that's really beautiful. And the other part I really love is when I started writing my book, I have this main character. She's being bullied. She doesn't really have any friends. I didn't want to give her a magic power, and then all of a sudden that gives her worth
Right.
because it's not realistic. It doesn't like it's not, it's there's a difference between inspiration and self-worth in my brain,
Hmm.
which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I didn't want to give her this power, and then all of a sudden now you have worth.
Hmm.
And now you have value. And so I very specifically wanted the ending of the first book to not be resolved because of her power.
Hmm.
So she defeats the threat with her empathy instead of her power. And that was
Hmm.
really important to me because, and it kind of goes back to Mirabelle not having, well, we could debate whether she had a power or not, but
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? She was the one, but they still loved her. She was still part of that family, and she
Yeah.
still had value without the power, even if people didn't always see it. Uh,
Hmm.
so I wanted to make absolute certain I was not sending that message.
It I remember once reading something about it was of course on social media where someone was asking what was it that finally let Phil Connor break out of the Groundhog Day cycle. What was it the thing that finally did? And someone had to explain to this person on on social media. It was the day that he helped others, the day he stopped putting himself first, and the day that he helped others was when he was able to break out of that cycle. And I think that you know I think when Harold Ramis made that movie, um, I think it was I don't think he expected it to be this movie that would be studied in philosophy classes and colleges and things. But, when you really think about what he was doing, well, the fact that he was there so long that he could learn how to ice sculpt and play, I forgot, like, was it Beethoven something on the piano and whatnot? It's like, oh yeah, it really challenges that. And I think those movies and books that show empathy, that show those, I know it boosts me. They really, really boost my feelings.
Right.
Yeah. So you were going to say something. You were going to transition into and talk about
Huh.
empathy books. What
Yeah,
were you going to?
like sort of inspiration late
Yeah.
like when I kind of discussed this topic with some other people, inspirational movies come up a lot with people, and I think it gives them joy and makes them feel good. And it has the opposite effect on me. These ins
Oh.
all these inspirational movies, it's again, it's about somebody with a magic power, or it's like the one in a billion child who got cured, or the one
Mhm.
person who happens to be a mega athlete. Like I understand why these are inspirations. However, to me, it's again, it's sending that message. Let's be realistic. Most people aren't going to change the world.
Right.
And we're constantly sending that message. Really,
We
we're
are.
constantly sending that message out. So these are the things that I lay awake thinking about. by the way. But yeah, so it's like where do you fit in if you don't have this magic power, if you're not a superhero, if you're not, sometimes I watch these movies and I'm like, why is this person so reluctant to be a superhero? I don't know how
Yeah.
realistic that is. I feel like everybody wants to be that person who's like remembered or wants to change the world.
Yeah.
And very few people really do that. And then digging like way back into ancient cultures, most of that is just utterly forgotten.
Hmm.
History is written by the victors. So yeah, the
Yeah.
first scientist was actually from sorry.
There's,
The huh?
I,
The
I don't
first
know this
the
one.
first scientist was actually Arabian, and this
Oh
is
yeah.
ancient. I guess Mesopotamia might have been the area
Hmm.
that it was called at that time. Nobody knows that.
Oh no, no.
You
Again,
know, yeah.
it's so much creation and so much scientific progress took place in the Islamic world around turn of the first century. But we don't talk
So
about that
many,
because
yeah. And we talk
history
about
hi- history only took place what? And it was Egypt and then Greece and then Rome and then Europe, right? Isn't that the way that we're all taught? Nothing else happened anyplace else, right?
nothing happened before. Yeah,
Nothing happened.
absolutely. So
Nothing.
I'm glad that like that is kind of being revisited and whatnot. But like, yeah, like to the point is that most people are not going to be the one person who changed the world. And I think we're all, again, we're taught that, we're shown that so repeatedly, that sometimes I watch these inspirational films and I'm just like, that's one person. What about like the millions of other people on this planet who don't have that? Like, where do they find their self-worth?
Well, I don't know. If you haven't, have you watched Andor?
No.
Okay, so everybody, you need to watch Andor. Yes, the first season, the first few episodes are a little difficult to get through, but then you're completely hooked after that. But there's a character in there who is just a regular person. He's just he works in a hotel. He's just a regular everyday person, but he does something very small, and that very small ultimately will help take down the empire. And so the idea that, like you said, we're not all going to be superheroes. We're not all going to do this. We're not going to do it. But sometimes the smallest little gestures can have the biggest impact, can have the biggest change on the story, on the narrative, on the future, on history. And it's a great moment in the series because it's recognizing that um, don't ignore those supporting characters or those background actors. It doesn't, not everybody has to be swooping in, Iron Man, Thor, etc. It's um, those little impacts are things that really, really do help.
And
Yeah.
that's actually a perfect segue because the
Yeah.
next thing I thought of was It's a Wonderful Life.
Not a big fan of that movie.
Okay, but
Isn't that like everybody's like it's very funny. It's one that does not it yeah, I don't maybe go on. You talk about why it's so great.
to
I'm
me,
not going to
I,
dismiss.
I
Yeah.
really liked it because it was very different because it's not about those big moments. It's about what one
Hmm.
person means to so many different people and what
Hmm.
you mean to those who love you and that those are around you. And again, it's not about the big moment. It's not about that one little thing. It's about how you impact the people around you. And I
Yeah.
find that
I
to me is just it's something that people so easily forget.
I think I don't disagree with. I agree with all of that. Um yeah. I agree with all of that. That's all I'm going to say. It's one of those things where I completely it's like Taylor Swift. I completely understand why everybody loves Taylor Swift, and I understand why everybody loves It's a Wonderful Life. It just doesn't hit the same beats for me.
Yeah.
And look, more power to everybody else. It's totally fine. It is a very funny thing because I always am like, wow, I really should. And I'm like, no, no, sorry. It's like the English Patient. I didn't like the English Patient either. I don't like Gone with the
Hated the
Wind,
English patient. Oh my
but I
God.
Yeah, I hated The English Patient. I hate Gone with the Wind. So it's another
I've
one
never
that,
even seen Gone with the Wind, and I don't. Maybe we need to cut this part out. Hate the Wizard of Oz.
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of The Wizard of Oz. I
Yeah.
like The Wizard of Oz. It's
I
fine.
used to like it when I was little, and now I we need to cut this part out because I don't want to yuck somebody's yum because so many people it means so much to so many people. But
Yeah,
like when the
yeah.
Cowardly Lion starts singing, like it crawls all over my skin.
Well, it's such a different song compared to everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's why.
yeah.
Okay, so I will say one. So not to. I will bring up one book. There's a book, and I can't remember the author because sorry, we're just we're just going along with this, everybody. It's called Reincarnation Blues, and I got the audiobook, and I've listened to the audiobook about 3 times, and it's about a guy who um, the premise is you have a certain number of reincarnated lives and then you get it right. And once you get it right, you go to a higher plane.
Groundhog's Day.
Um, kind of. And but the problem is he's also accidentally fallen in love with with death. So he wants to keep being reincarnated so he can be with death, who he's fallen in love with. Um, I am surprised the first time I listened to it how much it moves me and about what what it is to be a good person, what it is to be a good citizen of this planet, and again, so much so that I think the book is less than 10 years old. I think it's only like 6 years old. I've listened to it 3 times.
Oh wow.
It is really really moving. So and it makes me feel good. It elevates me and makes me want to be a better person. It makes me want to be, um, and express that to as many people as possible. So that's a book that definitely, I highly recommend to everybody. Yeah.
Sounds
So,
good.
but I hear you on the typical things of like this kind of in story. Isn't this great? Isn't this really motivational? Isn't this fantastic? And I'm like, well, what about those other people? What about that? What
It
about
comes
this?
right down to toxic positivity.
It kind of does
It
come.
really
It
does.
does come to toxic positivity.
Right.
It does, and it's especially also when they get the story wrong. And then I get really pissy, as I said, the number of movies I've kind of stormed out of. I mean,
Yeah.
look, love doesn't solve schizophrenia no matter what a
It
beautiful
does
mind
not.
says.
It does
It
not.
does not. So it's,
Yeah. The thing
those
is,
are the
you
ones.
don't get me started on 51st dates. Just don't.
Yeah. Well, I hold on. I'm going to counter you on 51st dates. The only thing I will say about 51st dates, as someone who has taken care of someone with Alzheimer's, um, it was a little refreshing to see something like that portrayed. And so that is something that, because as you know full well, when it comes to illnesses, sometimes it's like people just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to, but it's also something where toxic positivity comes in. Like, oh, look, she loves, she'll remember. And it's like, no, she didn't. And they didn't have that.
And it
They
would
didn't have
make more
that.
sense if they gave her dementia as opposed to memory loss because that doesn't happen with memory loss. It just
Yeah,
doesn't. It's a false hope.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, that was another fantastic episode. Again, I am Shannon Malone de-Benedictis. I run Paddlin Creative. You can find me at paddlincreative.com. There'll be a website at the tail end of the podcast. Workshop facilitator and lecturer, and my co-host.
Hey, I'm Elara Dunn again. I can be found at themagiclocker.com. My books are on Amazon. And I have to give a shout out that we both have amazing mailing lists as well you can sign up for if you want to continue that sort of conversation and furthering your self esteem.
Fantastic. See you next time, guys. Bye.